Hey everyone, it's me, Undead Viking. I'm here to talk to you about this game. It's called Battle for Sularia. Battle for Sularia is a two-player game in which each player will have a deck of 60 cards, and those cards are comprised of combatants, sites or like installations, and then tactics and condition cards. And all those types of cards are kind of combined together to create this battle force. The idea behind Battle for Sularia is basically these two factions are warring over this resource, this Solarium that basically powers everything they have, and there's an incredibly well written backstory for both of the factions, and also the artwork is absolutely amazing. What the players will use these cards, they will build these installations that they will then use to create the resources that they need to recruit and the reinforcements, their combatants, and they use those combatants then to attack the other player and trying to destroy them, take them out. And this is a game where basically you have to kill your opponent or destroy them, whatever you want to call it, to win the game. There is a way to lose through attrition, like if you run out of cards, but mostly you're going to win this game by actually, like, bringing your opponent to their knees, so to speak. If you've played card battle games like this, I mean, this is going to be somewhat of familiar territory for you, but there are some neat little things about this game that I really like the resources, and you'll see that when I show you how to play the game. But also, like I said, the artwork is just amazing, and I actually really was getting into the theme as I played this one. So let me show you how to play a Battle for Sularia, and then we'll come back here and I'll tell you exactly what I liked about this one. Alright, cool. Let's do this. Alright, to show you the basics of how you play the Battle for Sularia, I've gone ahead and set up what could very well be how well into the game the Jotun side, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, would have set up after several turns of the game have gone by. And I'm just going to show you exactly what you're looking at here, and then I'm going to show you kind of close-ups of a few things, and then I'll show you how an attack is handled in Battle for Sularia. Alright, so here's your draw deck. You have 7 cards to begin with when you begin the game, and then at the beginning of each one of your turns, you will draw 2 cards. If at any point you have to draw 2 cards and you can't draw those cards, you lose the game at that point. So your cards are kind of your lifeblood in that respect. You also have the equivalent of 25 hit points or health as the commander of your forces, and so you will mark that down. You can use a piece of paper or pebbles or cubes or whatever you want. I just used a piece of paper, and that's when I played it with my buddies. That's how I did it. Normally, you're not going to have anything out there to begin the game. You won't have any cards played. You'll start the game up. You'll draw your 7 cards. If you don't like them, you can shuffle them back into the deck and draw 7. Shuffle the whole deck again, draw 7 more, and then you're stuck with that one. But hopefully, you get 7 cards that you can use. And this is a deck building game. As you play the game, you will learn what cards work well together. There's also a specific building of your deck, rules for it. You can't just load it up with certain cards and what have you. But I'm not going to go into that at this point. So this right here is called your influence row. You are allowed to place any card you want into the influence row. There are 4 types of cards in Battle for Sularia. There are combatants, which are your units, sites, which are like the buildings that you create that generate income for you and also can defend themselves and have different effects as well. You have what are called, like this card right here, it's a condition card. Conditions are just like an activation that you can use that will just change something slightly. Like this particular card, this condition card is called Fire in the Sky, and it would, when it's activated, when you use that card, you then give all of your units that have the flight condition an extra ability called Barrage, which will allow them to do extra damage to sites that they're attacking. You notice that this card is still down here. One of the cool things about the influence row is that if you do use a condition card, it maintains its location down here on the row. And because influence is one of your resources, it's good that that card's still there because it still counts as influence. There is a third type of, last type of card called tactics, and tactics is also a card that you can be placed on the bottom and can be used as well down in that row, and will remain. However, if you do put a combatant card or a site card and then you flip that card to reveal it and activate it, it then leaves that area. So like if this combatant was down here and I activated it, the combatant would go into this combatant area and you'd lose that point of influence. You gain influence, or you have a score of influence equal to the number of cards in your influence row, and so that would be 4 in this case. Here you have your sites. I've just placed out 4 of them as, like, you know, I've been playing and I've been building those sites. Sites have to go either in what's considered the front row or the back row. And after you've placed a first site, you have to then place all existing sites after that next to the other sites. You can't, you know, place them diagonally like over here. So you have to kind of build off the one. The front and back row is important because the sites in the front will protect the ones in the back unless the person that is attacking has flight, which allows them to go over that first spot and can attack the ones behind it. Very important rule to keep in mind. Over here you have, as I said, your combatants. These are the people that you'll be using to make attacks with. You know, the interesting thing about this thing is you rarely do like any kind of real direct damage to other combatants unless there's a special ability. All of your attacks go after each other's sites. You're trying to knock out their buildings, which makes sense because they're the ones that are creating Sularia, which then is something that allows you then to use cards like the combatants as well. But the combatants are used to defend against those attacks, and they can be affected by other activations and powers as well. But so these here doesn't matter where they are. You know, you could have it like this. They could be scattered around, what have you. They're considered to be kind of fluid, and they're used as they are needed. Now, just like any other game that uses cards, you do have a situation where, like when you say, I'm going to attack with certain things or activate certain powers of certain cards, you show that by turning them to a 45-degree angle, and once the action is completely done, then you turn them like so to a 90-degree to show that you've used them and that you can't use them again. At the beginning of your turn, next turn, you get to then write them back up so they're able to be used at that time. Now, there is another section that is like literally over here. It's called the hidden zone. And what that is that occasionally you will place cards and units over in the hidden zone that basically allows the card to be in play, but they can't be targeted by your opponent because of the fact that they are, like, you know, well, hidden, so to speak. And so I don't have anything in that zone. The Jotun, you know, aren't as much of a hidden faction, if you will. They're more of a straightforward using flight to attack and things like that. At least that's how I've experienced the game as I've played it with my friends. So basically on your turn, what you'll do is you'll go through several phases, and then you'll handle each section of your turn. The influence phase, what you will do is, if you wish, you will take one of your cards and you will, in your hand, and you will place it down in the influence area face down. You don't have to do that, but if you have a card that you think would be useful to place in the influence zone, you then place it down there. After you've done the influence phase, you will then do the site phase. When you do the site phase, that is when you decide if you have a card in your hand that is a site that you want to place, or a card down here in the influence row that you want to place into your area. Say, like, here we have, let me find it, I had pulled one out here. So, like, we have a shipyard. And so, just to give you a brief overview of what this card means and what you're looking at here. Uh, you'll notice there's like the flavor text and what have you, and it'll tell you like what type of card it is, what faction it is, and then they'll have these different information here. This is the attack value of the card. If it gets attacked by a combatant, it does attack back and does damage, and it'll do 1. The defense of the site is 5. Whatever attacks, it has to do 5 or more damage to it to damage it and remove it from play. And so that is obviously a very important figure. This 2 and this 1, the 2 is the number of influence cards you must have here. That money or equal to that or more to be able to play this particular card. This 1 over here is the resources it generates. This will generate 1 Sularia per turn. And so during the site phase, if you wanted to build this, what you'll do then is you'll just take it and you can place it how you see fit. And so you could go like here, but obviously you'd be a little worried, placing it out there like because it doesn't have a tower to protect it. But if you had that and you wanted to play it out there, you could do so like that. Once that is done, you then have the Solarian Phase, which is when you calculate the amount of Solarium that you generate this turn. Normally, it's just going to be the cards, the side cards that you have here. Every card, if it generates Solaria, will have a number on that particular spot. Each of these cards generates 1 Solaria each, and so then you just have 5. Now, when we played it, we just remembered we have 5, but if you want to, you can use tokens or gems or whatever you want to use to show how much you have, and then you can have that to do it. So then, once you have that, I have 5, you then go to the combatant phase, which any number of combatants with a combined Solarium cost less than or equal to the total amount of your Solarium pool, the 5, get to be played. And so when you play a combatant, however, they have to be played activated or used up. So if you were to play, say, this guy, and you'll notice the cost of it is 1, you would place it in play like so, showing that it has already been activated and then it can't be used. Obviously, at the beginning of your next turn, you're going to be able to go ahead and flip it like so, and then you'll be able to use it. After you've done that, you then move on to the attack phase. And this is where, obviously, where you win or lose the game, because you have to figure out a way to attack your opponent and be able to defeat them and take away their sights and also their health. So you then decide whether you're going to attack with one particular unit or one combatant or several combatants, and you choose your opponents, or you choose your opponent's sites that you want to attack. And I will show an attack here in more detail here in just a couple of minutes, but I just want to make sure that you know that then the attack phase is after you place the combatant phase. So then you have a discard phase. If you have more than 7 cards in your hand, because you are drawing 2 each turn, if you haven't been playing any, that's very possible, you have to discard down 2 7 cards, and you'd place those into your damage pile down there. And then, after you're done, that's the end of your turn. Then you turn it over to the other player, and they do the exact same thing. They go through the same process. And then, when it's your turn, as I said, we'll reset all the cards that you activated the last turn and draw your 2 cards, and then you continue on with your turn back and forth until one person either runs out of these cards or has taken 25 points of damage and loses the game. Alright, as I said, I want to be able to go ahead and show you how combat works, but there's one last thing I want to tell you about. There is, like I said, these cards, the threshold cards, I should say, there's a threshold cost for condition cards and tactics cards, and what these are is, once again, it is this cost here too, just like how it's the same on each card, but the resource used is different. Combatants are Solaria, for sites it is influence, and for tactics and condition cards it is called a threshold, and it is like that same thing, number of cards in this down here, that number or less. The difference is with the threshold is that you can place a card down, face down, that has a higher threshold than the number of cards that are down in this area. You just can't flip them over and then use it. at that point until you actually have enough cards. Because remember that you are placing those cards face down in the influence row. So, alright, so enough about that. Let me show you how combat works quickly, and you should have a really good grasp of how to play Solarian, and then I can tell you exactly what I think of this game. Alright, I just want to show you a sample attack. Well, actually, a couple of sample attacks, just so you can have an idea of how this works. And if you've played other games, other card games that are card battle games, this isn't going to be too foreign to you, but it does have some neat little quirks and some fun stuff going on. So just follow along. This won't take very long at all. So here we have our 3 combatants of Jotun, and they're getting ready to try to take out this Solarium mining station. It is the Scythian faction, the other faction that's in this game. It costs 2 influence to create. It generates 1 Solarium. It has an attack value of 2 and a defense of 4. And so we have to do 4 points of damage to it at the absolute very least to take it out. Now, technically, we could probably maybe attack with both our Battle Saboteur and Grey Harrier. They both have a 2 and a 4. That would be 4. That would be enough to kill it. But their defense is 2 and defense is 1. And this attack value of 2 would destroy one of them. And we don't want to do that. However, we have the Red Condor. And here the Red Condor has an attack value of 4, enough to destroy the particular building, and it has a defense of 3. So, if we did the attack, and we declared the attack with the Red Condor by putting it to 45 degrees, we'd point to this particular location, and then we would destroy that particular location with this attack value of 4. Now, after that's done, of course, we activate it, and then this one is destroyed, and they put it away in their discard pile, or damage pile, I should say. Now then, because you destroy a site, the site does damage to the other player equal to the amount of influence it costs to put this in. So this would do 2 points of damage to the other player. Now, if somehow we had some sort of ability like a tactic or a card that allowed us to increase the attack value of Jotun, so let's just say this Red Condor had an attack value of 6 when it attacked, and it had a defense of 4. All damage is considered to blast through or overrun or whatever terminology you want to use. And so this defense of 4, with attack value 6, the 2 extra points would go through and hurt the other player, causing 2 points of damage. Say they hadn't been hurt yet, they have 25 health. They go down to 23, and then this influence of 2 would do, so they'd be knocked down to 21. So that is something to keep in mind as well. Now, let's say in this particular situation, we've already attacked with the Red Condor. We don't have him activated in this particular situation. And we had these 2 we decide we're going to attack anyway. But in this situation, the other player has this Solarium Excavator. It is a combatant. It can defend. It has no attack value, but it has a defense of 2. And so the other player would then declare that this is going to defend their Solarium mining station. And in this case, they pick which one's going to defend it. So we have these 2 that are going to attack. We activate this one saying it is defending. Just say it defends against this, the Battle Saboteur. It has an attack value of 2. This has a defense of 2, so it is destroyed and sent to the damaged pile. But it is a unit, and so when it is destroyed, it doesn't do any damage to the... I shouldn't say destroyed, because destroyed and damage are 2 different things. Destroyed is taken out of the game. Damage is just sent to the discard pile. So when it is damaged, it is going to be removed, but it doesn't do any extra damage to the player. So that leaves us with this Grey Harrier. And the Grey Harrier has an attack of 2, but now, since it is all by himself and attacking a defense of 4, it is not enough to destroy it. We have the attack value of 2 that fights back. We look here and we have the defense of 1, meaning this Grey Harrier is then damaged and sent to the discard pile for the Jotun player as well. So that is how you can, with defense, with having a card or having a combatant to defend against the attack, you can prevent the destruction of the site, like foregoing the damage that you normally would have taken, and also be able to get rid of one of your other opponent's valuable combatants that they have available to them. there are a lot more tricks and tips going on, like different abilities, like Alpha Strike. I mean, if you go to the website for Battle for Solaria, you can definitely download the rulebook and you can see all the different types of different modifiers and what have you. But this is a very basic, quick run through of how combat works, and it is something that as you play the game, you will get these little combos and get these neat little tricks that you can pull that really add up to a lot of fun as far as finding out ways to defeat your opponent and defeat your opponent's defenses. Alright, so there you go. You should have a really good idea of the basics of how to play Battle for Solaria. Let me tell you exactly what I think of the game. Alright, you should have a pretty good idea of how to play the game, or how to play Battle for Solaria. There is a lot more going on with the cards. I mean, I didn't really go much into the different powers and activations of each thing. I mean, I didn't want this video to be super long, and there's no real way when you're dealing with like all these different cards and like the deck building rules and mechanisms, if you will. It'd be really difficult for me to show everything. But suffice it to say that if you've played deck building games, if you've played games like where you actually like kind of build your 60 card deck and try to like create the right cards that work well with each other, and we all know there's games out there that exist like that. This isn't going to be foreign to you. You're going to find synergies between different cards and different abilities that work well. Things that, if you use this card in combination with one of these with this particular type of card, whether it's a sight or a certain type of combatant, add this bonus to this resource in this particular turn. That type of stuff. And there's a lot of that going on. And it's very in-depth and it's very interesting. And this is one of those games that I've really enjoyed doing the exploration of it. Now, I've only had the game for about a week now, and I kind of put a rush on this one. I made sure I played it a lot with my buddies. And I played it a couple times solo, too. I just kind of played both sides and just tried to work out, how different things would work. And I've had a lot of fun just trying to figure out the best way to play certain cards and the best way in conjunction with other cards. And I think for me, I like winning. Obviously, I mean, I play to win, but for me, it's that exploration level of the game that I've enjoyed, and that's what I tend to enjoy most about the games that I play is trying to just see what happens when I do this kind of thing, and this has a lot of that going on. Now, what I really liked about the game was actually the different resources that the game had, the fact that all the different cards had the exact same symbols on them everywhere, but each one was different in a way. The resources, the number and the location was the same, but for combatants it was Solarium. For sights it was influence. For condition and tactics it was threshold. And each of those was earned and used in a slightly different manner. And I liked that combination and that perusing and looking at it. I also enjoyed the fact that while there's all those different conditions and different modifiers and what have you, the combat portion of the game was actually very straightforward. It wasn't a situation where it was like, okay, I'm attacking with this, and then I'm attacking with that. Oh, you're defending with that? Oh, okay, so when we activate this, and what's that modifier, and we got to add this, and change that, and do this, and 10 minutes later, you finally figure out that, no, you didn't destroy the site. I've played too many games like that, this type of game. And I don't like, not that I don't like math, but, when I sit down to play a game like this, I like the old saying, I was told there would be no math. I want it to be quick, I want it to be resolved, and I want to move forward. And the most fun parts of this game is the quick play of it, and the quick decision making, and just the flow. I don't want that stoppage, for especially with a two-player game, just because it isn't like there's somebody else you can talk to. The other person is sitting there waiting for you to take their turn, or you're waiting for them. If you're going to talk to them, you're just going to prolong the game even more. So it is a very straightforward game, but has layer upon layer of depth as well. It's one of those things where I'm a good 8-9 plays in, and I'm having as much fun or more than I did the very first time that I played. And I'm really excited to see, what they're gonna do with it. What different new cards are they gonna come up with? What new abilities and actions and what have you? I mean, I really look forward to seeing what the future of Battle for Solaria will be. So, if you dig games with awesome art and sci-fi and like a two-player battle type game, I definitely suggest you go ahead and check out Battle for Solaria. I really doubt you'll be disappointed. So, there you go. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. I really appreciate it. And if you have any questions about Battle for Solaria, I'll definitely try to answer those to the best of my ability. Just go ahead and ask away. Yeah, so until next time, this was me, the Undead Viking, and I'm telling you to have yourself one heck of an awesome day. All right, bye-bye.